to get situated here. Sorry. So I figure at this point in time, um, I really should do a detailed synopsis of my history. I'm not going to go heavy into my childhood. I swallowed my shirt. Um, I'm not going to go heavy into my childhood because you can go read that in Rabbit Hole or on my blog, davidshurter.com. Pages above, Confessions of an Antichrist. You can read that all yourselves. I'm going to start I'll give a brief synopsis. My family was involved in child trafficking. We were involved with a child trafficking ring. It's the same people that were involved with an event that is associated with the name Franklin Credit, even though Franklin Credit and all the shit that surrounds it is all bullshit. My father was involved with child trafficking. What really got all this started was we lived over 72nd and Military, I think it was. I think it's Fontenelle Park. It's a great big park, but it has a great big pond in it. And we lived right on the other side of that. And they abducted one of my playmates. She was a little girl. And they abducted my father and stepmother. I would assume it was just them, abducted her. Right after that, I didn't know that all this was happening, obviously. So then we moved to Fremont. We moved from Omaha to Fremont. And that little girl's father found us in Fremont and wanted to know if we knew anything about his little girl. My stepmother served iced tea or something. They obviously drugged him. They drag him downstairs. That night, my dad douses him with lighter fluid. My stepmother's there. My stepmother's there. My sister Cindy, my brother-in-law, and my brother Stephen. And my stepmother hands me a match, makes me light the dude on fire. My dad hits the guy in the stomach with the shovel, and then I'm sent upstairs to go to my room, and I hide in a corner the whole night. But then right after that, this is really irritating me because I don't want the sun. There we go, that's better. So right after that happened, we moved to Grettinger, Iowa. And I lit that dude on fire when I was 10. For those of you who are just coming into what I'm explaining, I did a video at the very beginning. If you go to the very bottom of my YouTube, it's one of the first videos I did. And the date is wrong because it wasn't 76. I was 10. Then, so that was basically my childhood. A pivotal point in my childhood. Dad got ousted from the group after he made me light that dude on fire because it fucked the training up that they were doing to me at Offutt Air Force Base and Hummel Park. And then we ended up moving to Grettinger, Iowa, which was 3.5 hours away from Omaha, but at the time there was no internet or anything, so you could remain in hiding. But my dad never stopped. So my dad gets ready to die and starts telling everybody this cryptic shit that he had skeletons in his closet and he committed crimes against kids. And he had the same conversation. You have to realize that my whole family we were estranged from each other. And I was estranged from my dad for over and on and off my whole life until he died. But I thought he was talking figuratively, so I tried to tell him, I know, Dad, I know, because he was dying. And he would, no, you don't understand. I have skeletons in my closet. And it wasn't until after he died, and I spoke to my sister Kathy, because we're usually estranged, and she tells me that she has that same conversation with Dad. And that was when I realized that he had completely torn apart his bedroom and completely did a wall of mirrors. And he built a closet and built a, so he was, I think he was talking literally. So dad dies in 2006. So I end up going to the Nebraska State Patrol cold case detective John Pankin, because there was a case in Omaha, the Ricky Chadic case. And Ricky Chadic was a kid who was abducted. He was gone for a week. They could tell that he was treated well during that week that he was gone, but then he was murdered and left ritually displayed. Much like the 4 kids in Michigan that are named the Oakland 4. But there was DNA left, and Ricky Chadic, there was a man and a woman in a car, in a Cadillac. I believe it, the white Cadillac. And that was my grandmother's car. And I figured, how many fucking child killing couples could there be? And I knew my father and my stepmother were involved with it. So I went to John Pankin and demanded that he take my DNA and compare it to the Ricky Chadic case. Because I figured if my dad was involved with it and there was DNA left, my DNA would flag because it would be similar. So it was like pulling teeth to get this dude to take my DNA. The day that because he scheduled it later on. It wasn't even like we did it that day. And he just gave me the runaround. Well, at the same time he's given me the runaround, his sister, True Pankin, ingratiates herself into mine and my sister Kathy's lives with this friend that she had. And they were always drinking. They always came with alcohol. And at the time, I thought, well, he must believe me. And so he's trying to get more information. But it was about a year ago, I watched an interview of Alicia Owen. She was on the Nick Bryant. He has a YouTube station, and she was being interviewed. And I was floored because she says that she brought up John Pankin's name, and he was the one who made everything go away. See, Franklin, there was all these drugs, because they were flying in all of this cocaine from the Contras to Offutt Air Force Base. That's why all of these rich people got inordinately rich so quickly at that time. There was also prostitution going on, and it wasn't girls for the most part, it was boys. And in fact, at the same time in Omaha, Nebraska, when it was happening during the 70s and the 80s and all of that, it was all the same exact thing was happening down in Houston. There is a video out on YouTube, Boys for Sale, and Dr. Tom Philpott tried to expose it. And the same shit was happening in Houston at the exact same time that the stuff was going on in Omaha, Nebraska. Same situations, Catholic Church involved, all of that. Alicia Owen was the key to breaking this apart in the 80s because she got pregnant with then Chief of Police of Omaha, Robert Wadman. She got pregnant with his kid, and she was a minor. And so Alan Baer, who was intimately involved with all of this and instrumental on everything that it was going on, sent Troy Bonner and Paul Bonacci, and they went and befriended Alicia Owen. And then Paul Bonacci did this bizarre act of this multiple personality thing. Edward Norton couldn't have done the shit when he did Primal Fear. And everybody just bought it, so they took it as the greatest hoax. And then they stuck her in jail for a whole long time for perjury because she wouldn't take back what she said. So they stuck her in prison. And for a long time, I don't know if it's still that way, she was known for the prisoner who spent the most time in solitary. So they just fucked with her. She's very strong. My personal opinion, never really having spoken with her, just knowing about her, and I knew Troy Bonner. I've dealt with Paul Bonacci. I think she was led by the hand. Hey, she was led by the hand down the primrose path that ended up being in fucking prison. But John Pankinen was instrumental in helping make all of the accusations of child abuse go away that was going on in Omaha at the time. I didn't realize that. Now that I realize that, they put him in charge of cold case. How many cold cases, how many people have gone in there and gotten railroaded trying to expose all of the child abuse that was going on there? The wolf has been guarding the hen house for a long time, but after he dealt with me, he got a promotion. So that's how all of this started. And it pissed me off so fucking bad because Ricky Chadic, let me just give you some of the details about Ricky Chadic. The Wingerts also vacationed at Silver Lake, Minnesota. We had a place at Silver Lake, Minnesota. This place. This is the place we had in Silver Lake. The dude that painted this is Bob Ross. He was a famous painter, friends with my father and stepmother. It was this place in Silver Lake that they had. That's where they were exchanging the children. I cannot tell you how many times we went up there on a weekend and I would go to bed in this outside pavilion with 5 or 6 kids and wake up in the morning alone, and was always told that their parents came and got them in the middle of the night. That's the shit that always happened at Silver Lake. Ricky Chadic's family also vacationed at Silver Lake, Minnesota. So there's a connection right there. Again, he was seen. There is a couple, a man and a woman, in a white Cadillac, and that's my father and stepmother in my grandmother's car. My dad was involved with all of this. And so I didn't know about the Wingerts being involved with Ricky Chadic, but now that I do, that's why I know they took out Owen. It wasn't because they were trying to get... My narcissism looking at this fucking situation just humbled me. Because of course I thought, oh, they were just trying to hurt me. No. Owen's brother, Neil Wingert, was Ricky Chadic's stepfather. The Wingerts, Neil had married Ricky Chadic's mother. They had all known each other for years. They all kind of grew up with each other. John Pankinen was trying to use Kathy to get to Owen to try and set up Neil. That's what I have kind of ascertained with this whole situation. But they took out Owen because they were afraid Owen was going to help me with Ricky Chadic. And that's how all this mess with the police started years and years ago. We're talking, 2007, 2008 at the most? Because then I got pissed off, and then I set up the blog. The blog was set in 2011. That's when I started the blog. I published Rabbit Hole, a satanic ritual abuse survivor story, in 2012. That's when I officially had to start dealing with Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple. And the attacks were vicious. all of the shit on Amazon. Their attacks on Amazon are, go read the reviews on my book. I was nominated for Book of the Year when I published Rabbit Hole. I didn't win, but the fact that I was nominated gave me the little yellow sticker. You have people on there just really appreciative about what I wrote in that book. And then you have reviews like these people read a completely different review or a different book. Someone actually reviewed it as it was sad because I was a gay prostitute looking for redemption. That's basically what they left as a review. If you read the reviews, it's like night and day. And that's Doug Mesner's group. Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, his whole history is finding and neutralizing survivors of ritual abuse and extreme child abuse. His group was going to the SMART conference in Connecticut that was being run by Neil Brick. And they go and identify victims. And then they would come home and then target those victims because they're very good at targeting. Social media has made it so much easier. That's been his entire experience. That's been his entire existence. Lori King, co-founder of Ivory Garden, actually a good guy, infiltrated by Pat Goodwin, not a good guy. And on the eve of the second conference, when all the survivors are all joined together, Amber Volatin drives 2.5 hours to Lori's house, gets her to get in the car, drives 2.5 hours back to Amber Volatin's house, where on the same weekend that the second Ivory Garden conference is going on trauma and abuse, Lori goes to Amber Volatin's house and commits suicide. So someone comes and gets her, takes her to the person's house. They didn't even know what was happening. Amber Volatin, from what I understand, sent her husband out to go get something at the grocery store. And that's when they left. And so Lori ends up dead at the end of that weekend. And obviously Lori's husband had a problem with it because he ended up dead less than a year later. But these people have a history of just taking out anybody they fucking want. And they took out Owen, not just because he was my friend. Oh, it was meant to hurt me. It was meant to hurt me. But they were afraid that he was going to start talking about Ricky Chadic and what his family knew. That's what they were afraid of. That's why they took out Owen. Because I couldn't understand why. So I end up going and publishing my book. I'm having to fight with Doug Mesner and the Satanic Temple, all of which they have after school, satanic after school daycares showing up at just tons of schools. But that's because it's all involved with this fucking child trafficking bullshit. Because when you look at who is behind each one of these, setting them up where they are, they're generally fucking pedophiles. Consistently. And so that's the whole reason why. And Andy Villa, that's what changed everything. Because when I thought it was Thomas Schoenberger, who I still think works with them. I do. That he says he's just a musician, but he got involved with Isaac Cappy. Look at what happened to Isaac Cappy. He ended up dead. He reached out and got involved with Nathan Stoltman. Look at what Nathan Stoltman has. He got committed. the very thing that Andy Villa continuously threatens me with, then I'm going to be committed. And so I don't think that he's a good guy at all. I think he needs to be investigated. He's way too connected. But the fact that Thomas Schoenberger is not Andy Villa, but it was Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, Pat Goodwin, the other co-founder of Ivory Garden, is the one who convinced me to come out to Washington. So I went out to Washington. Unbeknownst to me, my ex had someone who had been dating him for 2 months. So when I get out to Washington, my ex breaks up with me. But I'm involved with all of this child because I have published Confessions of an Antichrist. Before I even published Rabbit Hole, I put Confessions of an Antichrist for free up on my blog because it was the information that was important about all this child trafficking. It was important. That's the reason why Doug Mesner broke into my blog and rewrote my book. Because if you go to Confessions of an Antichrist, you will see 2 links. One is the official, what I actually wrote. The other one is when they broke into my blog and rewrote my book. And so I left both versions because I figure people can compare the two and see what was taken out. You know? Aloha. And so, but figuring out the Doug was Andy Villa connected more dots for me than I ever thought possible. Because all of a sudden, all of this started to fall into place. And so I published my book. I'm dealing with Doug Mesner. Then Rachel Bengley comes and gets me and draws me to this website called franklinfiles.net. And that's where Noreen Gosh was and Paul Bonacci and this whole group of people. And for about 6 months, they were my best friends. Oh my God, they were plying me just that they were just asking me questions. And I was so naive. I was answering their questions and blah, 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 blah. And then they turned on me. So when you go look at the walking tour of Pedophile Omaha, which is I walk around the old market explaining how everything was working then, and I go through Hummel Park, the reason why I'm so angry in those videos, because I'm angry when I film those videos, was because I was fighting with Franklin Files, not realizing that that was their job. They were a honeypot. They draw survivors in, they get everything they fucking can out of you, and then is the minute they think that they've gotten enough, they fucking turn on you. And they turned on me. And now you have to realize, I'm getting a divorce. I'm moving to Washington. All of this shit is happening all at once. Pat Goodwin thinks I'm going to use the money from my divorce to buy her a fucking brand new car instead of buying the house that I had already bid on. That didn't happen. But the thing that I hold her most accountable for is that fucking Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves, lived 23 miles away in Tacoma, Washington. And I didn't fucking know it the almost 4 years I lived there. I didn't find out that he lived in Tacoma until I was in the house in Erling. That's when I found out. So this dude who wants to be so big and bad fucking hid from me for almost 4 years. Fucking made my life a living hell. Had people take out a protection order out on me, but every video that was listed had absolutely nothing to do with those petitioners, but only and solely dealt with Doug. I lost, and they were on this account. I lost this account for 5 years. I didn't have access because they broke into it And now all those videos are gone. But I figure YouTube has them someplace. Nothing's ever lost. They get a subpoena. They go into my account. They'll be able to find out the shit. You know? Go get the protection order and then subpoena YouTube and go look at the fucking videos. I'm sure YouTube has them somewhere. You know? The whole thing about it is that he was after me. So then I sell my house and move back to Erling, Iowa. And I took everything down because when I was coming to Iowa, I was coming to small town Iowa, and I really didn't want to be involved with all of this because I figured it would have a bad effect on who I was. So I get to Erling, and it wasn't even the next day. I'm starting to getting emails from Doug and his group laughing, saying that they were already set up in Erling before I ever got there. Then they would tell me shit would happen, and then the next day it would. So they wanted me to know this. They were telling the truth. Someone was helping them, you know, breaking into my house then. Fuck, when I lived in Erling, they broke into my house and kicked the shit out of one of my dogs so bad that it took me 2.5 months to calm her down enough to where she would come down from the second floor. She was so afraid that if I didn't have the door open and waiting when she had to go out and I put her down, she'd run right back upstairs. If I didn't have the food waiting for her on the floor when I brought her down, she'd run back upstairs. They traumatized her. And all this shit was happening. And I was getting all these fucking threats, which I was forwarding to my sheriff, Shelby County, Iowa Sheriff Neil Gross. And for years, all I heard was, we can't figure out who's doing the emails. If you could only get them on camera. Oh, if we can only get them on camera. But I didn't have cameras in Erling because I'm fucking on Social Security and didn't have the money for cameras. It wasn't until the gas station explosion that I realized that Neil, when they said they were already set up and people were working with them, I bet they contacted Neil first. Because Neil, now that I look back, Neil was fucking helping him the whole goddamn time. Here I trust the dude. Went into his office so he could interview me on camera for an hour and a half. You know, trusted the dude. And the gas station explosion, he didn't tell people that there were people across the street the Saturday before, even though we were in COVID lockdown, that woke up my neighbors at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. He didn't, his deputy, Donovan, who they were using to come after me for my dogs, I'd already had to go to court over my dogs. We had already been in court over my dogs, and I was having to fight them. And he ended up committing suicide a week and a half before the gas station explosion. And Neil never bothered to tell anybody about all the threats I was getting. He didn't tell anybody about the threats that I was getting. No one. But when it fucking comes down to that gas station explosion, one explosion that leveled the place is fucking different than two explosions that happened 9.5 minutes apart from each other. There's a difference. There's a difference. I don't give a shit what the official fucking report says. You can't have it both ways. There was either one explosion that leveled the fucking place, like it says on the official report, or, and if you believe that, then physics didn't work in Erling that day. Because Dan was able to get the fuck out of there, realize that his brother-in-law was still back in there, go back in, get his brother-in-law, and get them both out to fucking safety before the second explosion, which leveled the place. So if you believe the official fucking version, then physics didn't work that day. Time stood still. Because Dan is still alive. His brother-in-law is still alive. It's not like KETV didn't do a news report about it. All of this stuff I've shown repeatedly. And I don't know what else to say anymore. You know, if one explosion that levels the place is okay, even though there were two explosions, they were 9.5 minutes apart. And it couldn't possibly have happened the way they said it happened. If you want to fucking be ignorant, go ahead. But facts are facts. And that's when I knew Neil was a bad dude. And since then, it's been a fucking nightmare. It's been a nightmare. People who are associated with the library. The whole thing about trying to push me to get with this 17-year-old boy is that I have no interest in anybody who's 17. They have no fucking conversation whatsoever. But that's what was happening. They'll tell everyone I'm fucking crazy. But the day that everything came down and I ended up having enough, I had just filled out fucking paperwork to be hired that day. And it's not like they had just met me. So that was a setup. Then I get involved with this Christian organization and pissed off one of them so bad that they had to tell me that they were working with the bad guys to help set me up. The cat came out of the bag way too early. But small town Iowa is a bunch of fucking bitches. Around here, it's all about fucking popularity. Fitting in with the in crowd. That's what it fucking's all about around here. You know? And me fighting Neil just because of the shit he's fucking done, but he was the basketball star, and he was the track star, and he was the football star when he was in high school, and he comes from a good family that's rich and well-connected and wealthy. Never got voted in as sheriff in the first place. Never got voted in. Got the job because someone retired and brought him in. But then nobody ever goes against him either. That's the reason why the signs, vote Neil Gross for sheriff this year, weirded out people, because no one runs against him. Why did you pay for signs? You know, you look like an egoist. Just narcissistic. What, you wanted to see your name around town? Because nobody ever runs against you. The sheriff's office is so corrupt. But Neil has been working with the group that Doug Mesner works behind. They are trying to hide this child trafficking shit so hard right now. And they're all connected. Talking about Isaac Cappy, for those who don't know who Isaac Cappy is, he was an actor. He was actually he had a bit piece in Thor. You know, he was an actor. He was trying to expose all of this child trafficking bullshit that was going on in Hollywood. He knew Seth Rich, and he was connecting all of this group. And then he did this video where he was trying to get stuff out. I had worked with him for a while, but trying to expose all of this, the one thing that everyone that I have seen that has ended up dead, they always make it about them. They're the crusaders. They're the ones that are going to expose this. They're the ones doing that. That's not my fucking place. That's not my job. I know there are people who watch these videos, and I know that they're associated with law enforcement. And so they listen to what I have to say. It's not about me. I'm just shining the spotlight in where to go look and where to go investigate. Sewer Town. All the people that are connected to the dead Isaac Cappy Club, they all need to be investigated. You know? Andy Villa, Daniel Dowd as Pootie Twang, and Geo Farnsworth went out of their way to make me at least think they were in my town when Owen died. And I think they were in town. That's what those live videos are. You know? That's what those live videos are. Someone was in town taking those videos. I guess it could have been my sheriff or one of his people. But someone was taking big videos. It wasn't just pictures. And because they wanted to dance around because they thought there was nothing I could fucking do. Because they always have underestimated me. Always. They always underestimate me. They always think I'm some just dumbass dickhead who can't do shit. And so, and they're always wrong. Those people are always wrong, you know? The only person who never actually treated me like that, the one and only time that we had a chance to come in contact with each other, was Michael Aquino, my first handler. But that was because Michael Aquino was terrified of me. But it's all about this child trafficking bullshit. It's all about the child trafficking bullshit. They're hiding the shit in Omaha. They will come out. They took out Owen because then they'll say, oh, well, he was wrong about Jacob Wetterling. Well, let me tell you about Jacob Wetterling. Do you know the proof that I have that I actually called into the Wetterling Foundation? Do you know where I got that from? Glenna the Bad Witch. The bitch that's connected to Corey Daniel and Daniel Dowd and Tara Joyce Randolph and Geo Farnsworth and that whole group. She's the one who sent me the fucking thing that showed that I had called in to the Jacob Wetterling case. The Jacob Wetterling case, I know my dad was the dude who was behind it. I know he was. Years and years ago, when I called into the Jacob Wetterling thing, part of the conversation I told that woman, don't tell me, I'll tell you. Jacob was abducted by someone driving a big blue utility truck. And she got really quiet on the phone. And she said, the first thing she said was, that's right. And then she followed it right up with, how could you know that? That was never released to the public, but it was my dad's Northern propane gas utility truck. That's what he was using. He was driving all around with it, you know, and fucking getting kids. I went on, John B. Wells brought me on to Caravan to Midnight and let me go on for an damn near 2 hours about everything I knew about the Jacob Wetterling case. In fact, in part of the interview, and you can find that interview on my YouTube page, closer to the bottom, you know? And the person that was also on there with him was like, aren't you going to ask him any questions? And John B. Wells was, no, I just want him to talk. He's telling us everything. And that's in the interview. He says that. Less than 2 weeks later, a 27-year-old cold case that they were saying couldn't be solved was solved with a perp, a confession, and a body. But the perp was already in jail. He was never charged with it. He got the confession, but was never charged with it. They're saying that's because he wouldn't let him know where the body was. But then Timothy Homeseth, who I'm not saying I don't know anything about him. But at the time, he got a hold of me and told me not only was that body not Jacob's, it wasn't even fucking human. And the abductor pics changed. The story changed. They like to show this video with me with this stalking over my head. Do you know why I have that stocking on my head? Because I did a video. Because now the story is they didn't get to see him because he had a stocking on his head, a nylon stocking at 9 o'clock at night in the when it wasn't summer in fucking Minnesota. How the fuck was he able to see? He couldn't have seen. The stories changed. The abductor pics are ridiculous. Yes, the new abductor pics look just like the dude in prison. It's remarkable how the dude hasn't changed at all in 27 years. He looks almost virtually the fucking same. Even though he's been in fucking prison the whole goddamn time for that. And is going to remain in prison. But prison hasn't aged him at all. But the abductor pics changed. So they can take that whole Jacob Wetterling thing and shove it straight up their fucking ass. That's why they took out Owen. Because they were afraid I was next going to focus on the Ricky Chadic case. But all of this is child trafficking. My dad might be dead. He's dead. But my stepmother is fucking alive and well. Contrary to my sister Kathy, who spent years convincing everybody how Joanne was dead. I believed it until I was standing face to face with her at the Farmhouse Cafe. And who was with me? Owen. Owen was with me. I'm not just going to let this all go. I'm not. I'm sorry that my little fucking sign outside has people's fucking boot knickers in a twist. But I'm not going to just let this go. Because it's not the right thing. The children who have lost their lives to all of this, they deserve as much as all of you who don't want to hear it because you don't want to be bothered by it. It disturbs you and you don't want to be disturbed. Fuck you. Fuck your comfort level. Because if you're comfortable with this shit, then you're a fucking psychopath, just like they are. You know? Just like they are. This whole thing about Owen had everything to do with Ricky Chadic. Yes, they knew it would hurt me. They knew it would hurt me, but there were more reasons. Just like the gas station explosion. The catalyst to the gas station explosion was that my sister had just bought the house directly across the street. When you see me in the KETV video, I'm standing in front of my sister's house. The house the reporter dude comes out at the very beginning, that's my sister's house. They thought they could just wipe both of us off. All their problems would be solved. Because I haven't shut up. And I won't shut up. People who know me, I've had that blog since 2011. I published the book in 2012. It's damn near 2025, and I'm still making fucking videos. I'm still going strong. And it's because God has kept me here. And they get angry. They hate the fact that I am talking about God and filling your hearts with love and that their shit's going down. They don't like it. They bitch about it all the fucking time. But fuck them. If they don't think don't like it now, just fucking wait. Just wait. Because they don't have a fucking clue what's right in front of them. You know? I do not have respect for people who will look away from all of this and not even feel compelled to do anything. They just don't want to be bothered by it. And in town, there are people who will go out and just talk shit about me. I'm crazy. They're just buying into the bullshit because they don't like what I have to say. Fuck them. This whole thing with Ricky Chadic, he was displayed just like the Oakland Four were in Michigan. And that happened 10 years before Franklin came out. I'm telling you, my dad was from Michigan. His family owned Cassopolis, from what I understand. Or they had a lot of fucking money involved with it. It's like the Gross family in Shelby County. Kind of like that, you know? So, Dad knew Michigan well. He owned a fucking plane and he flew everywhere. And wow, wasn't it amazing? 4 ritually murdered kids laid out ritualistically got all of the attention off of Franklin. And it worked for about 10 years. Sure did, worked for 10 years. People were definitely focused on the Oakland Four for a long time, took all the focus off of Omaha. Didn't last. But it's all this child trafficking bullshit. And it's heavy because Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, who is instrumentally involved with all of this shit, has his Satanic Temple after school daycare bullshit showing up everywhere in the fucking nation. Do you really think that that stupid Baphomet statue that showed up at the Iowa Capitol this last Christmas, that was all meant as a distraction? Because Doug was afraid of the traction that I'm starting to get in my fucking area, in Iowa. So they put that fucking statue up there. And then wouldn't you know, some dude from another state comes and beheads it. And so everyone's talking about how dumbass the fucking Satanic Temple is. Poo-pooing the Satanic Temple. Even though they're fucking focused on your goddamn kids. That's how it's fucking working. Isaac Cappy did a video where he said he was not suicidal, and if anything happened to him, he didn't do it to himself. In that very same video, that was about, an hour, a little over an hour, he said it several times. Every time he said it, and only when he said that he wasn't suicidal and if something happened to him, he didn't do it to himself, you could hear someone in the background hurting his fucking dog. He does that video, and then the very next fucking day, he ends up off of that fucking bridge. So he went from saying that he wasn't suicidal, and if anything happened to him, he didn't do it to himself, to fucking suicidal the goddamn next day? And everyone's okay with it. And the people who are behind the story, like Corey Daniels, whose story started off with, oh, I was driving under an underpass. I didn't know the dude. I didn't know that he committed suicide. There was nothing in the road. And yet I can tell you the very fucking minute I drove under that underpass, that story changed, as dumb as it fucking was, to I was on the bridge with Isaac. That's about as big a fucking discrepancy as there was one explosion that fucking leveled the place, or there were 2 explosions that happened 9.5 minutes apart. And, funny how all of these fucking discrepancies happen. And they're polar opposite to each other, and yet anyone who questions their narrative is fucking crazy. Really? Really? I guess it's crazy if you're a fucking dumbass with your head shoved up so far up your ass, you obviously aren't getting enough oxygen. And people wonder why I won't walk away. Why would I want to put anybody else in my place? I don't want to give this baton to anybody. You know, this has been fucking miserable. They break into my house at will. They do shit to let me know that they're in my house. It's all stupid shit, but it's enough to know, like letting my dogs outside. What am I going to do? Fucking call the sheriff? You know? They would like that because they want my sheriff and his little butt boy murderer, Chad Butler, who is now my new handler. Like fucking Ryan Miller was in Algona, Washington. You know? Is all in control of everything about me. You know? So I have a fucking murderer dude, you know, when you consider what he did and then the dude that just totaled out the sheriff's vehicle going 80 miles an hour down a fucking gravel road, which anyone who's driven down a gravel road realizes you don't go fucking 80 miles an hour. It's fucking stupid. But, they're all hyped up on fucking drugs, obviously, you know, obviously. And then he does a video a week later with music in the background saying that the devil made him do it. I fucking shit you not, you know. That's the kind of shit that I have to deal with out here. And people are just like, oh, the devil made him do it. And God saved him. He didn't get hurt, you know. I don't know what the dude's name is. It just happened. It can't have been more than 6 months ago. Fucking everyone was talking about it out here. One of their dumbass deputies, you know? But my sheriff's department is helping them. Is helping them. Fuck, if I end up dead and you look at my videos, the sheriff probably will be standing right outside watching for them to come in and take me out. But they don't do that shit, you know? They want to make me seem like I'm fucking crazy because I'm talking sense and I'm exposing their shit, you know? But someone needs to. Someone needs to, you know? It's all been about exposing. That's how it started. Exposing my family for child trafficking. And the very fucking group that my father and stepmother were involved with descended upon me. First with Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves. Fuck. It was horrid. I spent every day, all the time. That's the reason why I ended up taking comments off my fucking videos. I wouldn't let anyone comment and I wouldn't let anyone vote because they were on top of me all the time. That's with TikTok. I actually appealed and said, dude, if you look, you will see that there is an army of them and they're reporting everything because they're trying to get me taken down. And they reinstated my account after they looked at what I said. You know, Tara Joyce Randolph, who will say, I'm not involved. And yet they're fucking with Daniel Dowd, who was Pootie Twang, and Geo Farnsworth and the whole Sewer Town group. They're all dancing around how I should lose fucking disability and how how I'm defrauding the government, getting fucking disability. And then disability tells me that I have to come in and do anything with them because there has been a myriad amount of attacks, of attempts at identity theft concerning my Social Security account. So now I have to go in person, show them my ID, and then they have to look at my ID and look at me. And why did I focus on them? I don't know. Maybe because that's the only fucking group who was dancing around telling everybody I didn't fucking deserve Social Security. It's not like it's going to take a rocket scientist to figure that one out, you know? The same group that I'm fighting that just came in and fucking murdered Owen because they didn't want him helping me with Ricky Chadic. He knew his brother didn't kill Ricky Chadic. He knew his brother didn't kill Ricky Chadic. And my family has been working with Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, for a while now, for a long time. Fuck, Cindy's kids, Mark and Melissa, were working with him right after they fucking murdered my sister. You know? I believe they pumped her full of insulin. The two people that were with her, her oldest daughter and her husband, couldn't get their fucking stories straight. Every time they fucking told me about what happened with Cindy, their stories changed. When the fucking stories change, there's an issue there. It means that the truth isn't being fucking told. Because if you're telling the truth, it's the same. It's the same as it was when it happened. It'll be the same 10 years from now. It'll be the same all the way on. But their stories changed. Babe, my brother-in-law was a city manager. Of course, nothing was going to fucking happen to him. So my sister, I went to on the other side and told her, never let him sleep. And when he sleeps, never let him fucking rest. And 3 years later, he was dead. And then Melissa called me, and I told her what I had done. And she got quiet on the phone and then told me that's exactly how he died. I know. You know? If you think I'm a dickhead, you sure as fuck didn't want to fool with my oldest sister. And so, this is over. This shit is going to get exposed. It's already been exposed. But I wanted to do this video because I have that new sign out there, and I see people stopping and looking at it all the time. And so I want a history of what I've been dealing with on this situation. What I've been dealing with Neil Gross ever since I moved to Erling. But it was all about this child trafficking bullshit that I have been trying to expose since 2007. I think I actually went to Pankedon in 2006. My dad died in March, and I went right after because I found out about Dad having the same conversation with Kathy the day that Dad had his funeral. That fucking atrocity that fucking Joanne hosted, you know? And I'm glad my stepmother isn't dead. I am. I'm very glad. It's given me an opportunity to play with her with the dark. Send her the dark. The dark likes to play with its prey before it claims it. Because anticipation makes the blood sweeter. That's how it works. And so it likes to play with its food. And I thought I lost my chance with my stepmother. And I did not lose my chance with my stepmother. She's still very much alive. So it was... How could I resist? That's the issue is that I have spent my entire life trying to be the nice guy. Try to be loving. Try to be caring. Talk about Jesus Christ. How you're supposed to fill your hearts with love. And how, you know, you're supposed to forgive and all of that. Shit that we have been told from the very beginning. But now I'm telling you, I wouldn't do what I did. I've condemned myself to the dark because I'm not forgiving. My Andy Villa, aka Doug Mesner, told me to lay my sword down. That was a very interesting thing to say to me. Lay my sword down. Because there's only one in the end who has a sword. And what he thinks of me. What they all must think of me. You know? But I ain't the fucking second coming. I am the antithesis of Jesus Christ. In this whole situation, I could not give a fuck less about forgiveness. I could not give a fuck less about redemption. Because this group would only use it to their advantage and then mock you for offering it to them. I'm all about fucking accountability and retribution. That's all I am. It's the antithesis of Jesus Christ. I couldn't be more opposite. And all I had to do was condemn myself to the goddamn dark to drag them all along with me. And you're fucking right. You're fucking right, I did it. Most of you don't have a goddamn clue who Mike Aquino was. You have not a clue the shit that he was involved with. And especially in the town of Harlan, they all want to talk. They don't have a goddamn clue, never looked into it, don't have a fucking... All they have are their opinions, and they're uneducated at best. And it gets frustrating to have to deal with it. It gets frustrating to have to deal with it. But I'm going to keep this video short. I just wanted to have a synopsis of what I've been dealing with, because now I have that sign out in my yard and they know that it's all about the child trafficking. This all started with Ricky Chadic. I went into Nebraska State Patrolman John Pankinen to have him take my DNA to compare it to the DNA that was left on a murdered child's ass. That's what I fucking bring to the table. And I've only gotten the runaround and fucking attack since then. But this dude made all the fucking child abuse issues go away in the 80s. So how many fucking cases has he railroaded? And because it was the Ricky Chadic case, and because my brother-in-law, because Owen was my sister's, he was my brother-in-law for damn near 20 years. He was my sister's other half. He was my brother-in-law for about 20 years. He was never my fucking therapist. He was my brother for all intents and purposes. Taking him out is one thing. Dancing around and fucking bragging about it, oh, you couldn't have been a bigger fucking dumbass. Your group ain't gonna like what's gonna come, what's happening to it now, because now, fuck it. I might as well do what I'm gonna do. I'm condemned to the goddamn dark anyway, and it's all mind over matter, recognizing energy and sending it off to people. And I'm very good at it. And ignorance isn't gonna fucking save anybody. It just makes you ignorant. But you wanna know what happens when you choose ignorance and you stick your head in the sand? Your ass automatically goes in the air and makes it so much easier for someone to shove a fist up it. You know? That's how it fucking works. I'm just explaining fucking physics and how it works. Stick your head in the sand, your ass goes in the air. And if you have someone walking by who is so inclined to shove their fist up your ass, you won't fucking see it coming. That's how ignorance works. The fact that Owen, it's already been hard enough to deal with Owen, because it has hurt me. It has hurt me. They have succeeded, and it is a pain that doesn't go away, and some days is just as bad as it was before, because he was my brother. And now to realize that he was taken out because of the Ricky Chadic case, they just didn't want him helping me, because his brother wasn't the one who... He was seen with a man and a woman. If that man and that woman was fucking his stepdad and his mom, wouldn't they fucking recognize that? But John Pankanen plays stupid, just like fucking Neil Gross plays stupid. They don't have any accountability whatsoever. They just can't figure it out. You know? And the shit that they fucking say doesn't even make fucking sense. You know? This is all about child trafficking. And I'm not going to stop. And if it fucking puts your knickers in a twist, it's because you're a fucking psychopath who only gives a shit about themselves. Because otherwise, it should be very concerning to you. These are children we are talking about, after all. They're children. They do fucking matter. Even when it comes to your fucking bank accounts, they matter. Because let me tell you, their lives are filling their bank accounts up a lot. It's the reason why I would have never fucking accepted anything from my father. My stepmother sent me a check for $100. I ripped it up and sent it back to her. I won't take her blood money. I won't take that blood money. Dougie, I'll take your money. I already own your soul. Everything you own is already mine. And if you want your soul back, and that goes for all of you, the souls that I was pledged to, it's an easy task. All you have to do is march right into the middle of the goddamn dark and fucking take your soul back. That's all you have to do. Easy peasy. But if you can't do that, you're fucked. And with that said, that's this video. Again, it's all been about exposing my family for child trafficking. And it all started with the Ricky Chadic case. And Ricky Chadic, Neil Wingert, Owen's brother, did not kill Ricky Chadic. Flat out. Didn't kill him. No matter what fucking John Pankanen wants to say. No matter what my sister wants to say. She dumped Owen to go with Owen's best friend. You know? She works with Doug Mesner. She can go fuck herself. As my sister's, Cindy's kids can go fuck themselves. As my stepmother and her children. I would tell Joanne to go fuck herself. But that bitch is already fucked. They all are. Some of them just are too ignorant to fucking realize it.